Sane. Taylor. What's he say? It's a really good ball. It's Shabalala! Goal! Bafana! Bafana! Goal for South Africa! Goal for all Africa!
Hello, and welcome to another episode of How's Your Touch? I'm your host, Darren Beju, aka the Oracle. I was given that name by those closest to me because I see things other people don't see. And my co-host is Tate. Alonzo. Tate, anything to say to the people?
The people closest to Darren are just Darren because no one else gave him that name. But yeah, it's good to be back. We're gonna talk about an interesting topic this week.
Yeah. Welcome back to the show. How's your touch? Just two soccer enthusiasts. Just meeting weekly to talk about latest news in the soccer world and play trivia games. To just discuss interesting topics around soccer. Today's video actually is a pretty interesting one, as Tate said. Today we're doing best young players in the world video. And the way this works is we asked a number of people to send us their lists. 13 people in total created lists. 13. And yeah, they ranked the top 10 best young players in the world. The only caveat being that they had to be under 23, no 23-year-olds. So no Bukayo Saka, no Phil Foden, et cetera. But yeah, we got our lists in and we're ready to get into it. You ready, Tate?
Yeah, it should be interesting. I'm not looking forward to this list, but it's okay.
I should mention Tate got some of the lists, but he didn't get to see all of them, so he has no idea what the final list looks like.
Yeah. Also, for everyone to know, we asked 13 of Darren and I's friends as well. So, I mean, some of them watch a lot, some of them might not watch as much. So, I think the comprehensive list is going to come out pretty well, and Darren will know the comprehensive list. But we're going to shout out some names, and we'll just give disclaimers for why we think they might be in the list, and we'll move on pretty quickly with some of these people.
Yeah. I can go ahead and we can get started with just honorable mentions. Then I'll get into our top 15. I know I said the top 10 list, but we're gonna go with the people top 15 votes, and then 15 to 1. But yeah, let's go honorable mention, bro, because some of these names are funny. So our first honorable mention is Alejandro Garnacho.
Oh,
He was voted. Let me see. He was voted 6th by somebody. Anything to say, Tate? I know you have something to say.
Yeah. I told Darren before the show I just wanted to have a little bit of a discussion on Alejandro Garnacho. Primarily because of today and just his performance today, but I mean, disgusting that he's on this list.
He's not.
He's nowhere near good enough to be on this list.
Listen, I'm not gonna say somebody. I'm gonna name drop Ryan Veloz.
Yeah, bro. I mean, he sent me this list, and I was like, "What is going on?" But yeah, let's talk about Alejandro for a second. I mean, he's potentially the worst finisher I've ever seen in my entire life. He gives me the Vinny vibes when he couldn't finish, but he's way worse at dribbling. He's way less creative, and his finishing is way worse. I mean, he's got the confidence of Cristiano Ronaldo, but he plays like Danny Olivero on the field. I don't know how to describe it, bro.
Crazy. Catches is crazy.
In all honesty, though, definitely way overplayed, and I think right now Manchester United would be better with him not on the left wing. I think he's taken a lot of very good chances and not finishing the chances. Today he had several opportunities to pass the ball, to work back, to do a bunch of things. Everyone's getting on Rashford for these types of things. Everyone's getting on our other players for these types of things. But Garnacho, since he's I don't know. I don't know why for some reason he doesn't get attacked for this stuff. And I'm not trying to attack him. I'm just saying he's really not that great of a player. He's very mediocre, and yes, he's only 20, but if he doesn't improve, like I could see him playing for like Granada or something in 3 years. Just not a very good player whatsoever. Very frustrating to watch. So that's my take on Garnacho.
Okay, I can quickly go over a couple names, the other names that didn't make the top 15. And a lot of these names came from two people's list. Again, Ryan, Willis, and Jonah. Yeah, your lists are stinky, bro.
We need the Febreze,
so
bro.
we had Ryan voted for Gavi. Gavi didn't make the list. Wait, actually, Gavi did make the top 15. Ryan voted for Victor Roque, actually,
That's
and he didn't make the top 15. Antonio Silva, he didn't make the top 15. Matthias Tell, he didn't make the top 15. And Rico Lewis didn't make the top 15.
I do like Rico Lewis, though. I am a fan. Just not in this list, but he's a very good player.
I agree. Sebastian voted for Nuno Mendes. He didn't make the list. A couple of people voted for Harvey Elliott. He didn't make the list. I believe Jonah voted for Van de Ven as well. He didn't make the list.
I think it was Ben. Yeah, Ben voted for Van de Ven. Yeah. Definitely not making the list.
Arthur Guler didn't make the list. Joao Neves didn't make the list. Yeah, that's about it. So you ready to get into the top 15, Tate?
Oh, I really hope you're saying there's a few players from the MLS that did make the list.
The MLS, get out of here, bro. None of them made the list.
Okay, yeah. So there were
I'm not even gonna mention them, bro.
All right. Let's move on. I was just a little worried. I was just a little worried. All right, bet.
We're not mentioning those MLS mobs, bro. Okay, so 15th place, and I shouldn't mention we don't have a 14th place because there was a tie for 13th, and we don't have a 12th place because there was a tie for 11th. Okay, so perfect. 15th place with 7 votes.
I know who it is.
It is on Cisco and Brighton, bro. What do you have to say to this? Or what do you have to say to Jonah?
Wait, and Ciso is 15th place, bro.
15th place, yep.
All right. I mean, Jonah, for those of you who don't know who Jonah is, Jonah's a Brighton fan. We don't need to discuss Ciso at all. He's nowhere near this list. Jonah rates him, and hey, you got to back your club, I guess, right? He doesn't even start for his club, though. I'm not quite sure what he's doing on this list. Though, I mean, he had one thunderstrike against Man City. I don't think I've seen him score a goal since. I really have nothing to say about him.
Yeah, last year, I feel like, or 2 years ago, he, like, sprung onto the scene and was going crazy. Like, he had, like, a crazy catalog of goals. But he had a major injury and has fallen off since. I don't think that's his fault. He's still pretty young. Like, he has time to come back. I think he's a good player, but I don't think he's anywhere near the top 10 best young players in the world.
No.
But yeah, let's move on. In 13th place, the two players tied for 13th state are Baleba and Brighton. We know who gave him that vote.
Yeah, we do.
Ryan voted for Gavi. Ryan had Gavi third. Anything to say about Gavi, Tate?
All right. Baleba first. I think I didn't consider Baleba in my list. I do really rate Baleba, and I could see in 3 years or 2 years him being someone that we talk about in these types of lists. I think it's a little too early, and I don't think there's other midfielders that are of similar age that I think have more backing just from their ability at international level, playing for bigger countries, playing for a little bigger clubs, and I just think Baleba just doesn't have the amount of games for me where I can say, or the amount of minutes where I can say he's really that good. Gavi's hard for me. I see the talent with Gavi. I really do. I think he's a really good player. I think how do I describe Gavi? I think he's like a better version of Scott McTominay, right? I think he does well, not just that. He is a passion merchant, but I think he does the simple things really well. I really do think he does the simple thing. He doesn't overcomplicate it. He's not someone you're going to watch and be like, wow, this guy is a whole new level of player. But I do think he's a very a very technical and simple-minded player, and I think in a team you need those types of players. Again, top 10 list of U23 players. He's not crossing my mind, but I mean it's also that he probably plays for Barcelona. That is why he's getting the hype he is.
Yeah, I think if we did even like a top 25 list, Gavi wouldn't be on my list, to be honest. Like, again, he's good. I think he's one of those players who, like, his age plays a big part in the way people rate him. Like, I think he is a very, like, standard La Liga player. Like, I think if he was at, like, Real Betis or Espanyol, like, you wouldn't be hearing all of this hype about him. But I think, again, like you mentioned, because he plays with Barca and he does do the simple things right. Like, he is very good base La Liga player.
Yeah,
but I think
exactly.
Gavi is being like, I don't think he like hurts your team for having him in there. But I don't think he's this like a player who has the ability to like change games on his own.
It's almost like he's a floor raiser and not a ceiling raiser. Like he brings your technical ability up, but he's not going to bring you like a title, for instance. He's not that type of game changer.
Yeah. Okay. Tied for 11. 2 players actually from the same country but represent other countries. We have Kobe Mainu and Nico Williams. I can speak on this. I didn't vote for Mainu, to be honest, because I don't think he's a top 10 young player in the world. I think if we went to 15, I think he was probably going to be like 11th, 12th for me, to be honest. Now Nico, I voted for. I had Nico 10th. I think Nico's one of those. Like, I think he has the portfolio. Like, I think if you go and look his games played, like in La Liga, you go look at his goal contributions in La Liga from a young age. Like, Nico didn't burst onto the scene last year. He's been on the scene for like 3-4 years. Like, him and his brother have been going crazy. So I like, for me, I thought Nico, especially with being one of the main forces for the Spain winning the Euros, I think Nico has kind of like earned that credit a little bit. However, I do think club-wise, he needs to move to a different club for me to like actually put him like this high up. Like, they're simply not playing the biggest games he could possibly be playing here. Like, and we've seen him. Don't get me wrong, we've seen him perform in the big games. He cooked Kyle Walker, bro, in the Euro finals. Like, that's not an easy opponent.
Yeah, he's
so Walker. He's very valid. Kobe Mainu, baller, bro, baller. But I just think, unfortunately for him, like, he just doesn't have the body of work for me. Like, he just does not have the body of work yet. Like, last year was his first like Kobe Mainu year, and I think there's a couple players like that was a common denominator in my list. Like, everybody on my list I have seen perform on multiple occasions, or they've done a madness. So, like, that was like, like, Kobe Mainu is good, but he's not done a madness like some of the other players on my list. So, what do you have to say, Tate?
I'll start with Nico because obviously I'll talk about Kobe after because he's my favorite player. But Nico for me was very close. I forgot one person in my list that we'll talk about probably when he comes up, and then after this person I forgot, Nico was next. So Nico was like 11 or 12 for me. Again, a lot of what Darren says I agree with. I think it's hard when you're at Bilbao to really, get the recognition that a lot of players do. I mean, Inaki Williams has been there for how long? And he was balling there for a while. I think Nico's a whole new level of player. I think he's very direct, good dribbler. I really like what I see from him in regards of when his ball's at his feet. He's creative. A lot of what I've seen from him is Spain, and I think the Spain system itself is fantastic for wingers like Nico Williams and then the other winger that we'll talk about later. But that type of system is partially why I didn't vote for him because I haven't watched a ton of Bilbao, so I can't sit here and act like I've seen a ton of him outside of Spain. But for me, he was set up in a perfect system for a winger who's creative and who gets to run with the ball at his feet. I think his talent is there. I just think the people I had above him were just a little more. I just like them a little more, I guess is the way to say. Now, Kobe Mainu, for me, completely agree with what you said about the body of work. Similar to what I said with Baleba, he's not had the significant amount of time compared to a lot of these other midfielders.
Yeah.
The reason why Mainu's in my list, right? First off, it's his first season, and he starts for a team that makes the Euros finals. I don't think people understand, and it's completely deserved too. Are England starving in that position? A little bit. But Kobe Mainu didn't look out of place at all. There were games Kobe Mainu was, in my opinion, the best player on the pitch in that tournament. And I think Kobe Mainu will flourish in a team like England where the manager plays a little better football than Gareth Southgate. Let alone the fact that this man plays for Manchester United. And Darren and I have talked about this already. It's the graveyard for young talent. And listen, they'll talk about how they bring people through the academy all the time, but if you look at the quality of the academy we produce, a lot of times these players are very hyped up and then do nothing. Adin Januzaj, he's someone I think of. I mean, you can think of Jesse Lingard. You can think of, Ravel Morrison. I mean, I could go on all day with these guys. But Kobe is, in my opinion, almost indestructible. He's silky on the ball. His dribbling, I just love the dribbling from him, right? Darren and I talked about this earlier, but it looks like Kobe Mainu has like 3 more seconds on the ball than everyone else because of his close control, because of his looking around the field. I think he's defensively very good. I think his physical attributes is why I didn't have him higher on this list. And I think the body of work's where I didn't have him higher on this list. But I think give him a year or two and he's up in the top 5 of this list if he's consistent and not injured. But I have no problem with him missing out on the list.
Top 5?
Top 5 of the U23s in a year or two, yes. But you have to think half these guys are going to be out of it, so.
Yeah, but 1 year he's going to be cursed in a year or two. So.
Hey, the Oracle already made a take about that. We'll have to see.
Shout out to Ethan Wanieri. Nobody voted for him, but
not even his biggest fan voted for him.
Hey man, listen, I'm the Oracle, right? I have to be realistic though. We'll get to that. Okay.
All right.
I should mention 15 and Cisco got 7 points. Gavi and Baleba in 13th got 8 points, so just a point split them. Nico Williams and Kobe Mainu got 12 points.
Wow.
And we're tied for 11. And then in 10th place with 18 points is Xavi Simons. He is the only player on this list I did not have in my top 10, and he just missed out on my top 10. I was really excited because I know ball, so the top 10 resembles my list almost. Just because, I'm a ball knower, but hey man, I can't predict everything, I can't be right about everything. But Xavi Simons, take it away, T.
Hey, I just want to say, as Darren guesses up his own list, I'm only going to have one player that didn't make the top 10 either. And if I would have remembered the one player, it would have been none. So, but it's okay. It's okay. We'll talk about Xavi Simons. I think Xavi was last in my list. He was 10th. I just think he's got something about him. He's got the star attribute. I kind of think of a team can be built around Xavi Simons. I think RB Leipzig. I feel like they've been built around Xavi Simons the past 2 years. I think he's creativity. He reminds me a little bit of position-wise of Cole Palmer. I think he gets thrown on the wing sometimes, but I really think he's a 10. I think he's better at carrying the ball than someone like Cole Palmer. I think he's a little quicker. I don't think his finishing attributes are anywhere near Cole Palmer's, and that's why Cole Palmer for me is a much better player on this list. But I do think his attributes are very good for a 10. I think he's good creative-wise. I think he can finish well. He had I would say a somewhat underwhelming Euros, but I do think he's a really good player. I think he makes sense to be in this list. So yeah, that's my thoughts on.
Yeah, I agree. He's one of those few Instagram wonder kids who survived the Instagram wonder kid phase.
Facts.
I remember seeing him I don't even know how old he was, just with the
At
hair
PSG,
all over
bro,
the place. Yeah,
like
hair all
15
over the
years old,
place.
and you're
Yeah,
like, what?
just saucing people.
Him and Hannibal Mejbri.
Yeah. I rate Xavi highly. I agree with what you said about him being a 10 and not a winger. I think he is more explosive than a profile like Palmer, like you mentioned. I think he's more skillful also. Like he has a little more tricks. I think
Yeah,
Palmer just uses space a lot better. And of course,
yeah,
Palmer's end product, whether it is a pass or a shot, is much better than Xavi. Um, I think Xavi's good. I like his style of play. I like the kind of player he is, and I think he just has to move. My only issue with players at Leipzig is like, but we've seen so many people ball at Leipzig. Like in Kunku, I thought was cold at Leipzig,
so
and
did
then he
I.
comes to the Prem, and I'm like, I don't know if you're the same player. Timo
Mm-hmm.
Werner was scoring 30 at Leipzig, and he
Real.
came to the Prem, and I was like, I know what you are.
But
So
I agree, but I almost think Xavi Simons does like those players were balling at Leipzig with like goals, right? Goal contributions. And like Timo Werner's someone that I think a lot of people could tell was a bag of pace and missed chances, but he gets his. The thing about Xavi is when I watch him play, it's like his play style looks so conducive to top teams. Like I think he fits right into someone like a Barca. Like they signed Danny Olmo this summer. For me, Xavi Simons slots in that and makes them even better. Like he just gives me that vibe of somewhere where he can, he can play that good style. I do think the German league is it can be misleading with how good some of these players are. Because I do think there are some very poor quality teams in the German league. So I do think
and
he needs that
tactics,
move. I do think he needs that move.
I agree. Um, yeah, not just terrible teams, terrible tactics as well in that German
Yeah,
league, bro. It's a league of ideologies. You don't actually have to perform. As long as you have a cute idea, you'll be employed in the German league, bro. Um, okay, let's move to ninth place. Xavi Simons had 18 points in 10th. In ninth place with 23 points, Eduardo Camavinga.
Oh, I love it.
Camavinga. Camavinga. What is there to say about Camavinga? He is one of those I was scouting when he was like
16 at Ren, bro.
16, bro. Yeah. I remember trying to get people hey, Arsenal, Arsenal. Huh? I was calling Edu, bro. I said, yo, send him, send someone there to go pick up this boy for me, huh? Huh? I know we're the same age, but I can see something
I
in
can see it.
him. Bro, he's a baller, bro. Like, what is there to say about him? You want composure? Like, he's composed. Like, he's someone who wins his duels, makes it look easy winning his duels. If you need him to drive in the midfield, he'll drive. You need a disguised pass to someone, he can play that. You need a through ball to someone, he can play that. Like generally, like I don't know what Eduardo can do. For me, the only thing lacking, truthfully, is his ability to actually like get a goal. Like I've never seen him like in a season like take it upon himself to go score a bunch of goals. But I think that's never been his role in the team. Like
Exactly.
he's played a 6 or an 8, and at Real, like sometimes even left back. So I don't think like people are looking for him for goal involvements necessarily. But if we're talking about dictating the play, bro, like again, I don't know. Like he's one of those players for me. Like since he was young, bro, since 16, like has been well and above every one of his age mates. Like he's just one of them. Like he was always upper echelon midfielder, even at 16. Like you could see he had the attributes to go play at a Madrid, go play at literally the best teams in the world. Bro, he's so good that like Madrid last year were like, bro, we know you're not even the left back. We have to play you in this team. Like we have our midfield base. Yeah, we have our midfield base, but we need to find a spot on this team for you. So even from left back, he's new roles for new roles for fullbacks. He's coming into midfield, creating chances. Like, bro, he's a baller, bro. Like He's one of them. To be honest, he's one of them.
He is. I think I just went back and looked at tweets just because I wanted to see. July 4th, 2021, Fabrizio Romano tweeted about Manchester United in talks with Camavinga. And, for me, this was like, there wasn't anything better. Like, a young DM, which I think, I don't know how much I'll probably talk about this on this podcast, but for me, defensive midfielders probably, if not the most important, one of the most important positions in current football. If you look at Man City losing Rodri and them kind of falling off a cliff in the way they play, I think Camavinga is. I think first off, I think he's a 6. I think he is. I don't think he's a left back. I don't know what that crap is. I don't think he's a left back. I know they're just trying to fit him in. But a lot of what Darren said, he is a controller of the game. Not even a player. He can do it, but he's not even a player that, like, it feels like he needs to make that many tackles. It just feels like he's always in the right spot. And, he, with the ball on his feet, he is just a beautiful footballer. And, he's still so young. I think he's top. I think even I had him low in the list, and I had him below Kobe, and that's probably biased because Camavinga is top. So I think definitely warranted in this list. Definitely warranted in this list.
Yeah. 8th place with 2 more points than Camavinga, with 25 points. Camavinga at 23 is Josko Gvardiol.
Oh my!
What a player! Go ahead, you can take this one. You can go ahead.
Darren and I were just talking about this player right before this pod. Wow. I'm not going to take your thunder with what you said about him from the World Cup, but I'm going to talk a little bit about his progression at City. For me, he was playing in a 3-back system at Leipzig. He was that left-sided center back for a 3-back. So when City signed him, I was a little confused with where the vision was, right? Because we haven't seen him play that much in a 2-back, in a 4-back, but one of the 2 center backs. Not that I don't think he can do it, but I was a little surprised they spent that much on him for a position that I didn't think he was as proven in. But let me tell you, this 4 center back defense now, where you got those 2. I kind of think of like Ben White in this situation. He's the first one that I remember doing it. But wow, Gvardiol is on the ball. He is so good. His passing is unreal. I think he's creative. There's times where I see him popping up at number 10 for City, and he's creating chances. But I think the real thing that brings him into this list for me, without a doubt, is his goal catalog is unreal. He's popping out on City outside the box and smashing them upper 90. I'm like, this is a different type of footballer. I think we've known he's another one Darren will talk about. Like, we mentioned football manager ballers, these wonder kids that we know about. He's one that has been coming for a while. His pace is unreal. He's a good defender, but I think this attacking threat that he's added at City is, it takes him to the top defender under 23 for me. He is top player. I don't know if you have anything you want to add. I think that World Cup run for him too was special.
I agree. Yeah, like you said, as I mentioned before the pod, like, personally for me in that World Cup, he was arguably the best defender in the World Cup. Right. That World Cup, like, he is one of those as a center back, like, ticks literally every box. Like, your modern day center back / this fullback blend. Like, I think he's like 6'3". He's rapid, like, covers ground really well. Bro, he has a wand of a left foot, whether that's passing or shooting. Like, bro, reading of the game as well, because he sometimes has to play as the left-sided center back in the 3, so Kyle Walker can go support and then rotate again, and then he goes to go support. So, bro, he's like you said, he's one of those FM Like in FM, I used to get him and be like, bro, who is this? Like, there's no way a center back is this good.
It's crazy how much. I don't know how many of our viewers play FM, but it's crazy how much scouting can go on through FM because you can see these guys, right? That you don't hear a ton about, and I mean their progression of these players is really accurate. Gvardiol's someone that I mean he's progressed. He's what 21 now. He's 21, maybe 22. I mean, I'd say I don't think it's crazy to say he's one of the top 10 defenders in the Premier League. It might not even be crazy to say he's touching top 5. I mean,
I agree.
He's unreal. So I think again, when we talk about under 23, I mean, I think under 23 is becoming one of the more people are hitting their primes earlier, and I think under 23 is becoming more of where we talk about some of the best players in the world. But he's definitely embodying that with defenders. So I think that's he's definitely warranted here too. Oh no!
And in 7th place, this is a massive jump. The person in 7th literally has double the number of points Gvardiol did. In 7th place with 50 points, Michael Olise. Hey, what do you have to say?
Oh,
I know you're saying. I know you think
this is too low. This is too low. I didn't want to be talking about him now. I didn't want to be talking about him now. But it's okay. We'll talk about him. I mean, he's above Cole Palmer, which I mean, we could talk about that later. But I do think it's crazy that he's in this list. Just last year he was at Crystal Palace. And not that it's impossible for a player from Crystal Palace to be there, but I think that move to Bayern really, really took people's attention to how good this man was. I mean, I've said a lot about him. I think his dribbling is top quality. He's probably, in my opinion, a top 3 dribbler on this list. He is just amazing at dribbling. His pace isn't even that. I mean, I think he's a fast player, but it's not even. He doesn't even need that rapid pace to the extent that some of these other players do. His chance creation is unreal. I mean, his crossing is fantastic. He also just makes these there was a goal to Eze last year where was it last year or 2 years ago where Eze hit it outside of the foot to score the goal, but the pass from Elise, it's just I forget who it was against. Maybe it was Wolves or something.
Hey,
but
Chill Tate is PG-13. You're
wild
with those grunts and stuff, bro.
I'm sorry. It's just, I think he's unreal. I think his shooting as well. We've talked a lot about that, but his finishing is fantastic. And I think the progression for him is moving perfectly where it needs to be right now. I think with this type of player, it's really important that they don't step too soon. And I think last year there was talk of him leaving, and then he spent that extra season at Crystal Palace. I think it was very smart for him to stay then. I think he took the step at the right time because if you look at Crystal Palace now, obviously losing him was a big deal, but they're not nearly as good. So I think he took the step at the right time. I also think he took the step to the right club because Bayern is someone where he's gonna get his GA. He's gonna get that progression with fantastic players. I mean, he's got Harry Kane as a striker. He's got Musiala in the center, who's unreal. He's got defense around him. I think his progression's gonna rocket. And he'll make that even bigger move, I think, eventually. Fantastic footballer. I don't want to talk about him too much because I talk about him enough already. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, I think Elise is good. I do think Palmer's better than him. So I had to really, but I do think Elise is good. I think he's very good.
Palmer's probably got the body of work that embodies more than
I think
Elise does. So
I think Palmer just has more fear factor for me than Elise does.
Yeah,
like Palmer, even from set pieces, is a threat. Like Palmer stepping up for free kicks. I'm looking at don't get me wrong. Yeah, Elise scored that one against United. Yeah. So he also has that ability, but I think Palmer just has that a little more fear factor. Like today when you guys are playing Chelsea, he picked up the ball sometimes. I don't think he had the best game, but he picked up the ball, and I was like, okay,
what's about to happen?
Yeah, what's about to happen for Chelsea? But yeah, Elise is elite, bro. I've always rated Elise. I started rating him when he sent that to that girl. Yeah, I'm not gonna be here too long. I've got bigger things ahead.
I got bigger things. Hey, bro, he's rated himself since the start, and that's that's what I like. That's what you need from your footballer, right?
Yeah,
I do. I think we've known. So
yeah,
I think it's probably a fair spot for him where he is in this list. The top 10 is actually turning out pretty fair. I just love him.
Yeah. Okay, and sixth place with 7 more points than Elise, so tighter gap. 57 points. It's Florian Wirtz. Now, he's again one of them. Tate didn't have him in his list, by the way, so everybody boo Tate.
I forgot him. I forgot him. Boo me all you want. He would have been in over Xavi Simons. So,
Wirtz is just one of them FM kids, bro. Like we were hearing about him for a while on FM, and I was like, okay, like who is this kid? Because to me it was just another Havertz weekend at Leverkusen, like just some German kid who's banging a bunch of goals and assists. Then I went and watched him, and I was like, okay, he might be a little different. Then he had that big injury, and I think that was a major setback. And like he just was kind of like trickling back, and then bro, I think he's been paired with the perfect manager that plays a system that brings literally the best out of him. Like he has that creative freedom. Like I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, yo, could that be the De Bruyne replacement with the pockets, the spaces he picks up? Like his technique every time he strikes the ball, it seems like the ball is gonna go exactly where he wants it to, and he has a little bit of flair. Like he can beat a man, just shift goal. Like he's like every action seems to be like pre-planned. Like every action seems to be to create for his team or create for himself. And I love a player like that. Like he's also one of those that like I don't know. He for me has a super high ceiling. I think he's at a great club. Like I think a lot of clubs were lurking in for him for a couple years, and I think, like you said, with Elise, like I think he's made great steps for his progression. I think Leverkusen, he has a lot of dependency on him, but it's not like a Bayern or where you have to go win the Champions League. That's the kind of dependency on you. Like, but hey, don't get me wrong, he led this Leverkusen team to an undefeated season. Like, and he was their catalyst, many would say, for that team. So for me, like, Wirtz is one of them. Also, so I should say this: I didn't ask anybody or give anybody any criteria in making their list because I wanted everybody to make their list based on whatever mix or blend. So personally, my list was based on what you have done so far, and that was about 70% of my list, and 30% was your ceiling. So like there's a player later on the list who's pretty high for me because of their ceiling, not their like what we've seen entirely yet, what I think they will be. But they do have the body of work as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tate, what do you have to say about the guy you didn't have on your list?
Obviously, definitely top 10. Stupid for me to miss him out. But like Darren said, we're not all perfect, Some of us make mistakes. My list would have been perfect if I would have remembered him, but it's okay. Anyways, Wirtz is, for me, everything you said I agree with. The only thing that I think about Wirtz that I have to add besides what's already been said is I almost think I think last year was Wirtz's year to take his move, right? I think it was perfect last year the way he ended it. And maybe it wasn't the club that was right for him. And for instance, like Man United came in for him, I would say don't do that for your progression. If even Tottenham were to come in for him, I would say that's not where you belong in your progression. But I think he's ready for that next step. I think someone like the City you're talking about, like a Barcelona or Real Madrid, something bigger, even a Bayern. I think he's ready for that next step to push him even higher into that, because I really do think his ceiling and his skill ability might be. I think his ceiling and skill ability is definitely ahead of Cole Palmer's, who's ahead of him. But I think his skill level could be even higher than we think right now. And I think next year, I think we'll get that move from him. But I do think with Xabi Alonso and the way that Leverkusen have played, I think it's developed him perfectly. I think he's under the manager he needs to be. He's with the players he needs to be. Great player. I'm not going to add anything else to what you said. I think you covered it.
Yeah. Birds, bro. What a player. Okay. Moving on in the list. In fifth place, 13 more points, 70 points.
13.
Brr. Brr. We got Cole Bomba Palmer. You can go ahead. You can take this one.
Yeah. I don't hate Cole Palmer. So before I get roasted in the comments, I don't hate
bro.
I know I'm very and I'm not doing it because I think he's it's something about when I watch him versus when I watch other players. It's just a different type of he's a different type of player than a lot of these other players. Yeah. The thing that Darren and I have talked about, because if you watched our first episode, the hot takes, we both talked about Palmer extensively. Output machine. I think Cole Palmer is putting up numbers that, compared to Erling Haaland's right now in the Premier League, I mean, he is carrying that Chelsea team. He is the future of that Chelsea team. And, he's a Man City product, so he's got the technical ability too. There's no way the man doesn't have the technical ability. I think for him, the next step he needs is that ball progression. I think he needs to take it and he needs to run with it, whether it be run at an outside back. He needs to run through the midfield. I think once he unlocks that, it's going to contribute a whole new level to his game, because I think a lot of what I see from Cole Palmer right now is in that final third, which every attacker should have it in that final third. The reason I have someone ahead of him where I would even consider Wirtz ahead of him is because of the taking the ball and the ball progression forward, or the taking the ball and taking your winger on. And I think Cole Palmer develops that, and he is on a whole new level. I think, and he very well can do it, right? I think his close control is fantastic. He might not have the extreme pace, but I do think he's a quick player, and I think he's very well on his way to develop into that. The one question I have is, he left City, and I know people are going to say, well, City already have enough players. But the output he's putting, why did he leave City, right? Because for me, with this output, I don't see why a team would pass up on someone like that. So why did he leave City? And my personal opinion on this is, I think Pep sees someone like even a Savio as offering more in his system than Cole Palmer would. And I don't know why it is. And I don't know if I'm seeing something wrong, but I think letting go of Cole Palmer thing also rubs me a wrong way too. And it could be Cole Palmer just says, I don't want to play here anymore. Get me out of here. But yeah, I think definitely a top 10 player. Definitely I'd say top 6, top 7 player. Very well belonging. I'm enjoying watching his output, watching him play, so I hope he keeps it up.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. I disagree with the Pep letting him leave statement, just because I think Pep has previously let players leave, just because like he is just a control maniac. Like I think he just wants everybody to be. You just have to be ready for when I want to play you, kind of person. And also, I think the profile of Cole Palmer is just a little different to a Pep style player. Like I think Cole Palmer is more suited for the Chelseas, the Uniteds, in a sense of these are teams that tend to give their players the ball and be like, go ahead and like give me a moment of brilliance. Whereas I think City, it's more spread across of, oh, we have so many players across the field that can give us a moment of brilliance. So we don't necessarily need one player to consistently be the person we're looking at to be the creator, be this like spark for us on the team. But I rate Palmer highly. My only caveat with Palmer really is that like in big games, I just think it's easier to quiet him down. And I think that's also why I compared him to Bruno. It's like he bullies the smaller teams, and in the bigger games, I think he is much quieter. Like I don't recall a big game C's performance, and I know people are going to say United, but like I'm sorry, United is not a big game for me.
And
respectfully, I don't remember the last time you guys beat us. Respectfully, like
and not only
I don't.
it was by the way, it was Anthony's debut, and you guys let Anthony score on his debut. He
Okay.
But anyways, I did want to go off on what you said. Just really quickly, I think the Cole Palmer against Manchester United game was a fluke too, considering he scored 2 penalties and a deflected goal off.
Yeah,
Like,
at the
let's
end,
not
yeah.
act like. So I think
No,
what
but
Darren,
that's why I think
what you're saying
also,
is
like
real.
I think his GA is very like sugar coated. I think when you go actually look at some of the GA he has,
I
and
think
he's
he did okay
main
against
penalty taker.
1 year.
Yeah, I agree. But he didn't really like. I think he had that one moment of beating Rodri, and then it was like nothing big, major after that. But like you see him against the smaller teams, and it's chance created, chance created, chance created, chance created, chance created. Like I haven't seen even one of those performances against the big teams, and that was my biggest stick with Bruno Fernandes at the beginning. Was bro, like sure you have like 55, 60 GA, but you're getting hat tricks against Bournemouth on penalties, bro. Like, I don't know if I'm disimpressed by it.
And I think what also for people listening, what Darren's saying is he's not saying those goals aren't important. Obviously, they are.
They are.
And that's why he's in this list. But I think what takes you to that whole next level is the level of consistency, right? And you have to be able to do it against everyone, right?
Yeah.
Superstars do it against the biggest teams.
Literally everybody.
And I think I would almost rather have a player who does a little bit less against the smaller teams and really turns it on for those games that we need them. For me, Cole Palmer could take away 5 or 10 of his GAs if he's getting one every game against these big clubs. And I think that's also would bring him up a little higher. But again, I think
agree.
very good player. Obviously, top player. Definitely deserved in this list.
I agree. And fourth place, this player was actually first on my list. I think was I the only person who had him first? Sebastian and I were the only people who had him first.
You can talk about him first.
And fourth place with 71 points, 1 more point than Palmer. So thank you, Sebastian. We did it.
That's disgusting.
Thank you, Sebastian. We did, which is crazy to me because let me name the player first. In fourth place, 71 points, is Pedri. For me, body work, none of these players on this list can chat to Pedri. None of these players on this list can
really?
chat to Pedri. Body of work, like, bro, none of them can chat to Pedri, bro. Because I think there's a player on this list, really high on this list, that everybody attributes a recent tournament is why they are so high on this. Recent performances. What people are forgetting is Pedri was on that same Spain team, and for me, was the heartbeat in midfield for that Spain team. Not even Rodri this year. Like when I was watching Spain at the Euros, the person picking up the ball, turning,
but then he got injured, and they were
playing a pass. Bro, he got injured. What in the final
or in the semifinal, and then
they brought on
Danny Olmo
bro.
comes in.
Okay, but that's a different profile of player. That's not.
I agree.
Profile. Pedri's not a goal and assist kind of player. Like Spain
Fabian Ruiz was their best midfielder.
I agree. Like goal contributions wise, I think he was better both ways. But I didn't say Pedri was the best player. I think Pedri was the heartbeat of that midfield. I think Pedri literally connects. Like Pedri is the only person on that team I look at, and I'm like, not the only person because I think Rodri obviously just won the Ballon d'Or. Like I think Rodri's a different echelon of midfielder. But Pedri, for me, is the only player I look at on this list, and I'm saying guaranteed finishes on that A-tier midfielder list or A-tier attacker list. Like Pedri for me is the only, like he's like I can go in a coma tomorrow and wake up in 10 years and I know Pedri is going down as an all-time. Like Pedri is one of those for me, bro. That's why he was number 1. Bro, you want to talk about Spain, Euros, everybody's giving Yamal all this hype. Pedri's been done this, bro. And not just at one international tournament. That same summer, he said, "Why should I go home and go hang out with my friends like your mom did? I'm going to the Olympics as well." Like, bro, respect Pedri, please. And what people forget,
Did they win that?
Pedri.
They win that Euros though.
No, they didn't. Okay, Pedri isn't again not an output player, but this is why I think Pedri needs more respect. Modric won a Ballon d'Or on being the heartbeat of multiple of his teams. Multiple of his teams. Modric won the Ballon d'Or off of being the heartbeats of his teams. Modric wasn't dropping crazy GA at the World Cup, but everybody
No.
knew Modric
Correct.
is the best
Yes.
midfielder at this World Cup. Bro, that was Pedri also, bro. People were looking at Pedri and being like, coming out of that tournament, people were looking at Pedri as, was he the best midfielder at this tournament? Goes to the Olympics, dunks on everybody. Still, I am easily the best player at these Olympics. Pedri again for Barcelona. Like, I don't even say much. Barcelona, even when they were trash, I'm looking at them and I'm like, bro, why is this dude so good still? Like, what? Like, does nothing hold you back? Like, that's the kind of player I think Pedri is. Like,
yeah,
he was number one on my list for a reason. I think technical ability wise, like, I think he's one of those. I don't even think he needs to improve on technical ability, and I think he is one of the best midfielders in the world. Current state, I think he is one of the best midfielders in the world. So, yeah, bro, Pedri for me, like I said, I could close my eyes, go into a coma, come back. I know he's going down as an all timer. So he had to be number one on my list. Like, he's the most surefire wonder kid I've ever seen in my life, ever.
I think again, a lot of what you're saying, I agree with. I do think Pedri is one of those. I do think he is an unreal player. I think technical ability, I completely agree with what you're saying, doesn't need improving. I don't even think he's a guy that needs GAs. I really don't. I think the comparison to Modric is exactly how I see him. I think he is someone that if he continues that longevity, he's going to be unreal. I have two concerns with Pedri. They're basically one concern, and it's physical attributes for me is where I get concerned. Injuries, and I'll talk about why I think the injuries are occurring, but also just physicality. I just worry, and not that he needs to be a crazy physicality. Luka Modric did it without crazy physicality, and I think he can do it. It's just, for me, it's a little worrying with a player like that because physicality is, I think the game of football is becoming more and more physical, and I think my concern for him is just that physicality aspect. That midfield, you are getting hit every time you get the ball almost, and I just don't know. I don't know how he's gonna last. I see with no injuries and anything like that. I think he continues. I think he's above two of the players. I think my number one, I will talk about it when we get there, but I do think he is, ceiling wise, he's the highest for me. But Pedri's right there with this person. The other thing is the amount of minutes this guy has been playing in his time from when he was 17 and 18. That's my concern because you talked about how bad Barca were and how good he looked, but he played like every minute that season.
You
talked about him going to the Olympics and the Euros. He played
every game, every minute.
My concern is the amount of minutes we're putting on this man's legs. I don't want it to become to a point where he gets run down. It becomes monotonous almost. And I don't think it will. I really don't think it will. But I just think I have a little more concerns about him than the people above him. But I do really think that if those things go okay, which very well could, I think he is top. And I agree with everything you said about him being the heartbeat.
I mean, my only thing with the minutes thing for Pedri is with his injury record, like the reason why the minutes wasn't a major concern for me in putting him first with his injury record, a lot of his injuries have been contact injuries, not non-contact.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, he's getting hit. and
that's my concern too with him.
But like, my thing though with Pedri, and like, I think that's the difference between Manu, is I think Pedri plays in a league and a team that understands how to bring out the best out of a profile like Pedri. Like
exactly.
I think the exact profile to thrive in La Liga is the Pedri kind of midfielder.
I think, yeah, and with the Mainu comparison, because that's a good point to bring up. I think you look at the way Manchester United play, and you see the gap in midfield, and Mainu having to cover that ground. I think Mainu is one of the last people I want covering that ground because I don't think he's a ground cover in general. I think Pedri could do that better, but he doesn't even have to in his system, and that's one reason that for me comparing someone like Pedri and comparing someone like Kobe Mainu is incomparable because Pedri is set up in such a better system. He also has more attributes, I would say, than someone like Kobe Mainu, and yeah, definitely. I understand why you and Sebastian have him one. I would love to say I have him one too, but I just think for me I just got taken away by those things. And very well, again, it could be not a big deal at all. He could prove me completely wrong. I think he's going to be in that upper echelon of player too, but we'll have to see. I think definitely top 4 though. Definitely top 4.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just hurt he didn't even make the top 3 because the gap between him and third, who I'm going to mention, was 19 points, which kind of pissed me off. I'm not going to lie.
Crazy.
But in third place with 90 points, 19 points more than Pedri, 1 less points than second place.
All right, I have a question for you.
Jude!
So for Darren's doing the Jude Bellingham celebration. So Jude got third, which means I know who got second and first.
Yeah.
We'll do first next, and then we'll do second. But
yeah,
the reason I have Jude above Pedri is, for me, the body of work that Jude has produced so far is better than Pedri's. And I know you're gonna say you'll probably disagree with it, but
I do.
For me, Jude Bellingham came in to Real Madrid this past year, and I think completely not that Real Madrid needed him, but he was so relied upon in that team, and he's so young. And I think the thing for me of why it almost tops how much Pedri was relied upon, not because Jude was relied upon more than Pedri. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is Jude did it in the big stages. He did it in the Champions League. He did it in La Liga to win them, both of them.
Yeah.
Now, for me, his physical ability, like his technical ability, if you watch the two players on the field, Pedri is a better player to watch. And I won't deny that. What Jude has for me is something that you can't coach.
I agree.
It's
bro,
something.
I can tell you what it is, bro.
It's the star.
It's a perfect combination, right? Jude is what, 6'3", right? He's got the African engine in him, right? But he's also British. That's a scary sight. He's got the British merchant's passion.
Exactly.
Plus the physical build. And then the African engine, scary times, bro. Scary times.
I don't even think his best position is where he's being played right now for Real Madrid. This is the thing why I think the person above him is rated above him, because these two people play the same position, and I think people see the person above him as a better dribbler and a better chance creator and faster and all that. For me, Jude is an 8, and I think his body of goals and his body of assists that just happened this past season, everyone's like, oh, he's a 10, he's a false 9. I think Jude can cover ground. I think he's a physical monster. I think he can run into the box late, and he can imagine him going into that Man City role and playing the Gundogan role that Gundogan played right before he left for Barcelona.
Yeah.
Perfect. I can't imagine a better position for Jude. I think he's just, the physical attributes for me are insane. I think what he's done so far, coming from Dortmund, I think he was amazing at Dortmund. And I don't think people watched him enough or talked about him enough at Dortmund. But he came to the Euros when he was at Dortmund. I thought he was England's best player. He came to the World... No, it was the World Cup that year. I'm sorry that I was talking about, where I thought he was the best player. Then he went to the Euros this past year. And I think him and Saka were England's two best players, besides maybe some defenders, but I don't really like to talk about the defenders as being. But again, like very, I just think he's just what I've seen right now. I think he's done more for me than Pedri has. Do I think he'll finish above Pedri? That's where I question it. I think his determination. I don't worry much about his physical attributes and that type of thing, and I think his drive will take him to the top. I do think he'll be in that upper echelon that we're talking about now, but I can completely see a world where Pedri will finish above him. So I think he's belonging in my opinion, he belongs in the top three. In my opinion, if I were to drop one out, it would be the person above him rather than Jude, but that's just me.
Mm. Yeah, man. Jude is Jude, bro. He's just one of those that, like, I don't know, like you can tell he knows he's a star. Um, like you said, bro. Like for me, he kind of like I agree. I think he's an eight. Like for me, he's like a he kind of reminds me. Well, I didn't get to see Yaya Toure play a bunch, but like that's the kind of like late crashes
Yeah.
into the box.
Mhm.
I can pick the ball up from any position on the field and drive with it. Like if you need me to do a 1-2 step over, I can. You need me to do a roulette, I can. Like if you need me to throw a skill in there, I can. You need me to find a pass, I can. You need me to run onto the end of things, I can. You need me to be a midfield general, like win duels, easy for me. Like he's yeah, bro. Like he's one of them. Like I think
I think
if you're
yeah.
building your modern midfielder, like giving them a modern day, like I think Jude is one of those that I think he transcends football generations. I think you could put Jude 20 years back and he could play in a two in midfield. Like I think he's one of those. He has the engine to go up. He has the defensive work rate to cover ground behind them, as well as the creative spark in him to create chances not only for his teammates but for himself in attack. Um, I think I had Jude second, I believe.
That's where I had him.
Yeah, I had Jude second. Yeah, I agree with you. Personally, I think the person above him should have been one below.
Mhm.
But we can get into that right now because the person below Jude was, or above Jude, sorry, with one more point than Jude in third place or second place is Jamal Musiala. Um, and I can talk about Musiala because Musiala is one of those products that I had in FN back in the day. I was talking to anyone and everyone about Musiala. Please notice me. It's the way I was talking about Musiala, bro. Just because he's like you said, bro, he's a beast, and he's what like his peaks have been this good for as long as I've been watching him. Literally, like even in the Bayern Academy, bro, like it was like it didn't matter. Like he looked like a FIFA player. Like he looked like he was out there playing FIFA Street. Like the way he carries the ball, he's one of those players. He picks up the ball and you're excited. Like he's such a like old school dribbler kind. Like everything he does, which is crazy because he's not Messi height, but he almost has the agility of someone who's that small. Like just maneuvers in tight spaces, crazy. His body control is different. I think previously my big stick with Musiala was he beat three men and then nothing would come out of it. But I think he's improved end product a lot. Last year and the year before, like a lot. Like in front of goal now, he's much more consistent. He is much better at finding the final pass. And I think he's also just surrounded by more more attackers on his wavelength in a sense. Because I think he has like on the other side, he has Olise, who's also cooking his man. He has a Harry Kane who's dropping deep, so he can run beyond him. So I like Musiala a lot, bro. Like he's like personally, I think he has case to be even best dribbler in the world right now. Personally, for me, like close dribbling, I don't know if
there's
there's a better player in the world close dribbler than Musiala. To be honest. And I think the fact that he has such a standout attribute this young is crazy because his dribbling right now is the final form of some all-timers. So if his dribbling gets better, GG's, bro. GG's. What do you have to say about Musiala, Tate?
I think Jamal Musiala, I think the dribbling's the thing that gets me every time when I watch that man play. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's a whole new, again, I mean, if this guy was on England, it would be scary for this England team because I have no idea who they'd play. But I think the fact that he chose Germany is good for his development. I think that's the first thing I'd say. I think he is the star of that German team now. I think Jamal Musiala should be the focal point for that Bayern team too. I think him distributing to Harry Kane. I think his goal contributions he provides too. I don't even think another player I'll describe where I don't even think he needs the pace. I don't think he has unnecessary pace. I think it's that quick 1-2 step. These dribblers that can do that close dribbling, their first touch after they beat a man is rapid, and that's the type of player that for me it's in the midfield it's unmatched, and that's something where I look at someone like, again, not to keep bringing him up, but that's where I look at someone like Cole Palmer, and these two players can't even compare to me because Jamal Musiala's got that whole new level of dribbling, of that turning in space, that close control type play. But the one reason where I think Jamal Musiala is in this list a little, not that he's overrated. I think he belongs in this conversation with Bellingham and Pedri. I just think it's his output compared to the other people that we have in these top four that I think it's a little less. I don't think I've seen him in a big tournament go crazy. I don't think I've seen him for club he does well for Bayern, right? But I've seen
I thought
so
he had
many
decent
people do
Euros.
well for Bayern.
Him and Verts, I thought they had decent Euros. I don't think it was crazy, like you said. But
and this
like,
is kind of where
decent.
And he's someone I expect him to be a non-negotiable in the team of the tournament almost.
I agree.
I expect him to be, and I think it might just be how high of expectations I have for this man. Because again, he's another player I look at. If I look at ceiling of Jude Bellingham, I look at ceiling of Jamal Musiala. I think Jamal Musiala has that higher ceiling just because of his attributes as a footballer. I think they're more superstar ability. They give me more of a vibe of someone that's going to be unstoppable.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know what it is. Again, maybe it's the physical attribute I'm seeing of. Although I do like a lot more what I'm seeing of him physically recently. I think I almost want him to move off Bayern. I want him to move out of Bayern, and I want to see him in somewhere. I want to see him in La Liga, or I want to see him in the Premier League, and I want to see him outside of the German league. Again, just because for me, the German league, it's very hard for me to rate super highly people in the German league. I just want to see him make that move somewhere else. Once I do that, and I can see he can do that in that other league, I think for me, he eclipses someone like a Jude Bellingham. But right now, I just want to see a little more in those bigger tournaments, and I want to see a little more outside of, the German league. Maybe some stuff in the Champions League too. But definitely unreal footballer, extremely fun to watch. One of the most fun players in the world to watch. I think we both agree with that. I mean, I turn on the TV when he's playing, and he's the player I'm watching on the television the most. So definitely that for that aspect, he belongs in this list.
Yeah. Okay. Now moving on to number one. Number one is actually the only player who was on everybody's list. Number one had 8 first place votes
out of 13, right?
Yeah.
Can we go through the people? Votes. Can we go through the people that didn't have him first?
Yeah. Danny didn't have him first.
Okay.
Ryan N didn't have him first. Danny had him second. Ryan N had him second. Sebastian had him 8th place.
I know.
Ryan Veloz had him second, and I had him third.
Okay.
In first place with 118 points, we have Lamine Yamal.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. All right. For me, in this list, Lamine Yamal is the only one that I can say that I believe could reach a level of Messi or Ronaldo. He's the only one I think that about. The other thing about Lamine Yamal is he is 3 years younger than all of these people on this list.
Yeah.
I don't think we understand how young this man is. He was tearing up the Euros at 16 years old. 16. The man has braces. Do we understand that? He is insanely young. Lamine Yamal. I don't even think it's the goals for me that I care about with Lamine Yamal. I see his creativity, and I think it's one of the top right now in the world for me. His crossing is unreal. Unreal. I think his dribbling is not as good as someone like a Jamal Musiala, but it's unreal. He has no fear taking on his outside back. He's not, oh, the system tells me to play a little tiki-taka. I know, and I don't think it's in a way where he's cocky. I think it's, I know who I am. I know what I can do, and I'm going to do it. Right now, Barcelona is atop La Liga, and I think they're rightfully right now the best team in La Liga. And I think he is the difference in why they've been so good this year. I think last year he was just coming onto the scene. This year he's there, and I mean, you've got him on one side, you've got Rafinha on the other side. I mean, he's everywhere for that team. I think the other thing about Lamine Yamal, and the reason why I understand why other people don't have him first, is when we talk about the body of work, when we talk about how much he's been at this level, it's very hard to say someone who's 17, who could only start really playing. I mean, he really came onto the scene 2 years ago, probably played 30-some games last year, 30 to 40-some games last year, and just started this year. So very limited body of work. But the body of work we've seen is unreal. He's about to be someone that has won the Euros, won La Liga at 17 years old. When's the last time we've seen someone that's done that? I just think what we're seeing right now is something that I don't think we thought we could see again. And I really do think he's in a system, again, Barcelona knows how to raise this man. Barcelona knows how to develop this man. They just did it. They just did it. And is he Messi? No. Is he going to be the same player as Messi? No, he's not. But he can be that player that is the best player in the world for the next 10 years. He has that quality. It's obviously easier to say that about someone that's an attacker than someone that's a midfielder. So I completely understand where you're coming from with Pedri. And Pedri's someone, again, in that Barcelona team. This is why I can see where you guys are coming from. But I just think with the age Lamine Yamal is right now, what we've seen so far, for me, he's just, and I think being an attacker and being this game changing at this age is unreal. I don't know. I don't even know how to put to words what I'm trying to say. I just think he has that it factor, and we've seen it this young. I just think he's going to continue to grow.
Where do I begin? I had Lamine third because I think, like you mentioned, I simply haven't seen enough. Like, it's really that simple. Like, I haven't seen enough games of him doing it. Oh, like, again, in the little games he has played, he's gone stupid. And that's why he's third on my list. Like, that's why what he has done so far for me trumps what Palmer has done, what Verts has done, what Olise has done. However, I don't think Yamal has the highest ceiling on the list for me. I think Yamal is very high on my list as well because of his age. Like you mentioned, he's 3 years younger than all of these other people. So I think Yamal at 20, like I mentioned, will have a bigger body of work than anybody on this list. Like I think Yamal at 20 undeniably is number one for me on this list. I look at Yamal and I think both teams I've seen him play on have been very well catered to the way he plays.
I agree.
And for me, with a player that young who's come into a team with no adversity, realistically, like he's popped up on the occasion of Barca resurrecting themselves. He's popped up right as Spain are resurrecting themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's perfect timing for his career, for him career wise. I don't agree with you on him being the only one. Like I don't think Lamine will reach Messi or Ronaldo level. Like I don't think you're saying that. You're saying he has the ability to.
Yeah,
and I agree.
I'm
like
not
with the
saying
way
he's 100%
with the way
gonna
he started, like his career could end Messi
Yes.
Ronaldo level. I don't think Lamine will have the output of a Messi Ronaldo. Is my thing. Like I don't think Lamine is one to score 30 league goals. Like I don't think we will ever see that from Lamine. I think we'll get 25 and 20 from Lamine. Like I don't think he's gonna give you 30 assists in the league either. Like I think he, again, like I mentioned, he's the kind
like unreal.
Yeah, I think no, but I think he is very well mixed as a player in the Messi sense of like I think he is just as scary creatively as he is putting the ball in the net, which I think is a very rare blend for a player. That like teams are just as scared of you creating a chance as they are of you shooting.
And then you have no idea what to do.
Yeah. And he's left footed, so I have to say this. Bro, use your right, bro. like once in a while, please, bro. At least
was it a goal or assist he had in the Euros where he
I
with
think
his right?
It was an assist. It was an assist.
It was a cross, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like I like players who can mix it up a little bit. And I think he does. I think Yamal will go bar line, he'll cut inside, and play his fullback. Like I think he's mixed his game up a lot. And I think that's fantastic for such a young age. And I think that's also why Yamal is so high for me. Like, I think he just seems like a finished product already. Like, he seems like this. Like, if someone told me this is Yamal's final form, like, it would make sense to me. But the craziest part is he is 17. Like, it feels like I'm watching, like, baby Mahrez at 17. Like, it's crazy. Like, so yeah, bro. Yamal had to be on my list, had to be high on my list. But yeah, just the length of like again, the only two people on my list higher than him are Pedri and Bellingham.
It's not like
they are both people we've seen perform since 16. Yeah. So this like, oh, I'm 17 and performing wasn't enough to trump that I've seen 2-3 years
of
that from Pedri and Bellingham.
I think the only thing I want to comment on what you said was with regards to coming through Barca and coming through Spain with no adversity. And I agree. I completely agree that he has had that. The thing for me of why it doesn't matter for this type of player is he's at the club. And I'm not trying to make the parallel. I'm not trying to say Lamine Yamal's Messi when I'm saying this. But I'm saying Barcelona just had this same situation with a right winger who we consider is the best player in the world that I've ever seen. And I know you agree with me too. And I almost think it's perfect. I almost think it makes so much sense that Lamine Yamal comes in and they know what they're doing with him. And I do genuinely think that, for instance, you said you can only see him as a 25-20 player. Well, maybe that's all I see right now too. But I genuinely think he's going to do things that we don't see right now. And I just think it's because of what I've seen from this player right now. And listen, I could be completely wrong. He could not reach this level. I just think of someone that I don't see anyone that challenges him for the next 10 years when he's at his prime. I don't see anyone that's going to be at his level. And we think of something like the Ballon d'Or. We think of something like, like those best player in the world awards. While we talked about Pedri, we talked about Jude Bellingham, we talked about Jamal Musiala, what they all have in common is that they're midfielders. These awards and this stardom is given out to attackers first. Whether we like it or not, it is. We've seen Rodri win the Ballon d'Or this past season and get absolute pelters for it.
Yeah.
Whether we agree if he should win it or not, it isn't a crazy take to say Rodri's the best player in the world. No matter what anyone says, it's not a crazy take. Whether I believe Vinicius should have won it or Darren believes Vinicius should have won it, it doesn't. The attacker is always going to get the recognition. And I think something where we talk about how do you classify a GOAT? You classify a GOAT through obviously watching the player, but you classify the GOAT through his achievements. I think we've already seen an achievement in the Euros. I think we're already seeing he's going to win the La Liga. Maybe he won't win it this year, but he's going to win several La Ligas with this young core that's surrounding him. We're going to see probably at least one or two Champions Leagues. Spain is looking like that team that's going to take over. And I think he's going to get those Ballon d'Ors. So I think for me, if I look at ceiling-wise, there's no one that touches him. But I also don't think it's crazy to say you haven't seen enough of him either. So I don't think I can personally say I can hate on your list of him being third. Sebastian having him seventh is a little... Not that I think it's insane, but
I think looking at Sebastian's list, like, it makes sense to me. I think Sebastian's list was very heavily based on what have I seen from players right now. And again, that's why I wanted to mention earlier that I didn't give anybody criteria on making their list. Like I wanted people to make their list based on their own independent blend. But that was a great list. Personally, I enjoyed this list.
Me too.
I enjoyed this episode.
Before we wrap up and do, I'm assuming we'll do predictions at the end. I know it's
no prem predictions today. No prem predictions today.
We're not going to do prem.
We've been waffling. Yeah, we'll do prem predictions next week.
Okay. So before we go, I just want Darren and I to read out our list since a lot of the viewers, I mean, Darren and I have been the ones that have been primarily on this podcast. We've been saying off some of our friends' names, but just so the viewers know our lists, and you can take out your roast on us. So I just I'm gonna read off my list. I'll read from 1 to 10. So I had Lamine first, then I had Jude, I had Jamal Musiala third, Pedri fourth, Michael Olise fifth, Cole Palmer sixth, Kobe Mainoo seventh, Eduardo Camavinga eighth, Josko Gvardiol 9th, and Xavi Simons 10th.
And my list was the better list. First, Pedri. Second, Jude Bellingham. Third, Lamine Yamal. Fourth, Musiala. Fifth, Verts. Sixth, Palmer. Seventh, Gvardiol. Eighth, Olise. Ninth, Camavinga. And 10th, Nico Williams. And let's wrap it up by reading the final combined list of all 13 participants. Thanks for everyone who also sent in their list. Some of you are viewers of the show, so shout out you guys.
Yeah, shout out to people that set up the list. We'd love it.
In 15th, in Cisco, no questions asked. 13th, tied for 13th, we had Baleba and Gavi. And tied for 11th, we had Nico Williams and Kobe Mainoo, my Ghanaian brothers. I stand with you. In 10th place, Xavi Simons. 9th place, Camavinga. 8th place, Gvardiol. 7th place, Michael Olise. 6th place, Florian Wirtz. 5th place, Palmer. 4th place, Pedri. 3rd place, Bellingham. 2nd place, Jamal Musiala. And first, Lamine Yamal. Thanks everyone for watching the episode. It was a blast, Pete, as always. We'll be back next week with a new episode. Maybe a guest. Who knows? I don't know what I'm feeling.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
We'll figure that out. Hey, please, for those that are viewing, like the video, subscribe to How's Your Touch. Definitely hop in those comments. Listen, if you guys want to see a video, we want what you guys want. We want to we want you guys to enjoy the episodes. We saw you guys like the hot takes. Keep hopping in the comments. Let us know what you guys want. We'll definitely try to keep bringing out some episodes. Try to provide you guys some new stuff. So thank you all for listening and watching. Darren, it was a great time.
Of course. Peace.
Tate, I wouldn't be wanting to spend this moment with anybody else but you. Take my hand. Take my hand. Take my hand. Take my hand. Aww, Tate. My first kiss was the African sun, no tongue.